All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let's begin with our misdemeanor calendar. Today's December 8th, December 8th, 2023. This is the 2 p.m. Expedited Accusation calendar with the State Court of Fulton County. These are a list of misdemeanor cases in which individuals were recently booked at the Fulton County Jail, and their cases have now been formally accused. When I call the case, I will let the defendant know what is the new accusation number, what are the charges brought against him or her, to appoint an attorney to represent the defendant if the defendant cannot afford an attorney, and to set a bond where one's needed. If you're a defendant charged with one or more criminal misdemeanor offenses, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything that you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. For individuals who are appearing on Zoom, please remember that this is an open court proceeding. It is virtual, but it is open, is being recorded and live streamed. So I expect all individuals to be behaving just as if they are in a courtroom. So there shall be no driving, no eating, smoking, or inappropriate behavior. And we will address the individuals who appear via Zoom where the pertinent case is called. Our reset date for this calendar is going to be 21st of December.
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Abden, you have asked for a breakout on positions 3 and 17. Anything else? Anybody else seeking a breakout or a case to be held till the end of the calendar? Okay. All right. Do we have position 5 in the courtroom? Courtroom 2?
I'm
Good
sorry,
afternoon,
Judge. I thought I was unmuted. Yes, this is position 5, Ms. Kim. She should have a private attorney.
Yes, Mr. Park, good morning. Good afternoon, excuse me.
Good afternoon, Judge. How are you today?
Doing well, thank you. Mr. Park, I'm not certain, does your client speak English or understand English?
I believe she does, Your Honor.
All right. This is State versus Ji Eun Kim, case number 23 CR 007-804C. Ms. Kim is accused of battery, family violence, criminal trespass, and cruelty in the third degree from a December 7th, 2023 incident. Ms. Kim, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Jason Park. Ms. Hardy, any priors, please?
This defendant does not have any history at this time and is recommended for a UJR through the jail.
All right. Mr. Walker?
We can't hear you.
Good afternoon, Honor. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
In this case, law enforcement was dispatched to 4042 Aaron Drive, where they spoke to the victim, who is the husband of the defendant. The victim's name is Hyunki Lee. First name is spelled Hyunki, last name Lee. He advised that he and his wife were engaged in a verbal disagreement, which turned physical, at which point she bit and punched him several times. This happened while I believe he was holding their juvenile infant, who is 6 months old. This incident elevated with his wife, who is the defendant, keying the car, or his car rather. The state is asking for a signature bond through pretrial services. We have reached out to the victim. He stated this is not the first time that there has been an instance of domestic violence, so we will be asking for a no contact and a stay away from the incident location. We are asking for a family violence intervention program. Also, we're asking for no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And I'm not sure if I see the victim on here, but of course, we would sound for the victim, Mr. Hyunki Lee.
Mr. Lee, if you are on Zoom, you are free to unmute if you want to contribute to the proceedings.
And I take that back. I do see a square with his name on it, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Yoon Ki Lee. All right. Mr. Park, any objection to a signature bond to report to pretrial, to do a DBIP while out on bond? And the only question I'd like to address is contact and stay away.
That's the only issue that I would like to address the court, Judge. they were married since 2019, I believe. It's been just over 4 months, and as ASG Walker indicated, that they have a 6 months old child, a baby, that she was the primary caretaker. Now, it is a situation, and it's a case that I think we have a lot to say. But as far as the no contact is involved, Judge, that would put my client at a significant disadvantage in being the primary child caretaker of the 6-month-old baby. She had a lot of complications during her pregnancy. Her parents are nearby. In fact, Mr. Sang Kim, he's the father who is also on this Zoom. We will worry about the family violence battery. Family violence intervention program and whatnot later, but I would ask that the order be modified to no violent contact, so that she can continue to be the primary caretaker for the 6 months old.
Mr. Yun-Ki Lee, if you'd like to address the court, I'm curious to know whether you have any concerns about her coming back to the marital home.
Hello. No, I have
Yes,
no
you need to
concern.
start your video, sir, so we can identify you. All right, Mr. Lee, do you have any concerns about your wife coming back to the home?
No, I don't.
All right, thank you. On the battery is going to be a $2,500 signature bond. The criminal trespass and the cruelty charge is going to be $500 each. The total bond is $3,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. Mrs. Kim, you have a signature bond, but you must comply with the conditions in order to make sure that you maintain your bond. You won't have to pay for the bond today, but if you violate any of the conditions, you will be rearrested, and the next time you would have to pay to be released on bond. Presently, your conditions are to have no violent contact with Hyun-Ki Lee, to enroll and attend a domestic violence intervention program within 30 days of being released. Your attorney can advise you as to the appropriate schools that offer that program. But when you report to pretrial by your second visit, you must show proof of enrollment in a DVIP program. You're not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess any weapons or any firearms. You may return to the marital home, but your next court date will be sent to your current address, which I believe is Aaron Drive in Alpharetta. Would that be correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Kim, when you get released, please give me a call through your father, okay?
I tried to. The problem is, I think my father's here and he can't carry his cell phone onto this property.
Yeah.
Once you are released,
after
okay.
you're released.
Okay, thank you. I will.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge Law. Good to see you. May we be excused.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Park. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Miss Neal, your client is position 2.
Right.
Victoria Hall. Is that correct? Jonquel Neal, attorney?
That's correct.
And
That's correct, Your Honor. I apologize. My Zoom was on mute. Yes, good afternoon.
And is that Miss Hall in courtroom 2?
Yes, it is, Judge.
All right, thank you, Deputy. Victoria Hall is accused under 23 CR 7807F. And the charge is failure to report suspected child situations and another count of contributing to the deprivation of a child. This is from an August 28th, 2023 incident. Ms. Hall, is going to be your attorney, and Ms. Hall, your attorney is Ms. Neal, who's appearing via Zoom. Do you see her on the screen?
Yes, I do.
All right. And Ms. Hall, you've also been advised of your right to remain silent. Ms. Hardy, any priors, please?
This defendant does not have a criminal history and is recommended for a UJR through the jail.
All right. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. So this incident happened back in August, but was not did not come to light until about the end of October. I have had an opportunity to speak with the investigator at the Alpharetta Police Department, and essentially this defendant is a therapist and a mandated reporter, and received information that she was required to report to the police involving a 15-year-old child by the
But
name.
let's not get into the details of the underlying matter.
And I will not get into the details of the underlying requirements that required her to report, simply that she was required to report an incident involving a 15-year-old child, SB. She failed to do so, failed to disclose the information not only to law enforcement, but to the mother, Miss Buchanan, for almost 2 months. The mother finally became very concerned because of SB's behavior. She emotionally began deteriorating very rapidly. The mother could not understand why, and it was finally revealed to her by the therapist this information that she was required to report. I had an opportunity to speak with Miss Buchanan, who is here today, as well as the investigator from Alpharetta Police Department. What is particularly troubling, and what has been presented to me by both, is that not only did the defendant fail to mandatorily report this information, but she willfully hid it for a series of months, up to and including, according to the police report, texting and calling the child after hours, after therapy hours, to discourage her from giving information to her mother. And when the mother became concerned because she was told that this defendant gave her child $50 to buy a product, she asked the therapist if this was correct. The therapist continued to deny it. The defendant continued to deny it, lie on the child, SB, say that the child was lying, and essentially gaslight the parent into believing that her own child was lying to her about what was happening in this case. A forensic interview was finally done.
Yeah, we won't get into that either.
Right, and everything came to light. And it also came to light that the defendant did admit to giving this child money when she talked to her boss at this therapeutic center. The state is very concerned about this because there were conditions that were left untreated because of this failure to report. It put the child in some real emotional danger and physical danger. And for that reason, we are asking for a $30,000 surety bond, $15,000 per count. We are additionally asking for these following conditions: that she have no further contact whatsoever with the minor child, SB, or the mother, Miss Ryan Buchanan, that is Ryane, that she also engage in no therapy whatsoever during this time. Our biggest concern is that as a mandated reporter, she should have reported this. She failed to for several months and went through great lengths to hide it. I do not believe that is someone who has the proper judgment to engage in therapeutic sessions with other individuals that may also require mandated reporters to step up and assist them. Furthermore, we ask that she stay away from the address of Miss Buchanan, and I will put that address in the chat. And we also finally ask that she have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. Miss Buchanan is here, and I would like to sound for her in case she would like to speak at this time.
Ms. Ryan Buchanan? If you'd like to contribute, I'm going to limit the testimony to only what's pertinent to the issue of bond. Otherwise, I can move on. All right. Ms. Neal, what's your response to the state's request for a $30,000 bond?
Yes, as it relates to the state's request for the defense's request at this case be a signature bond, Your Honor. Of course, the factual nature of what was just presented in court is just allegations. It is just, in fact, just that. We dispute the about when this was reported to my client, and I will state that this was reported by my client to DFACS, and then they subsequently closed their case. And so as it relates to, and as it relates from the defense side, we vehemently at this juncture oppose the idea that the therapist in any way tried to convince this child not to inform her mother of any potential, I won't get into the specific nature of the alleged incidences that may or may not have occurred. What I will say about my client is, Your Honor, for purposes of bond, is that the purpose of bond in this case for Ms. Hall is to secure her presence. She currently has no criminal history. She is a graduate of Spelman College, as well as has a master's in social work. She's currently employed at Counsel Connections, where she has been a therapist for a little bit, almost a year. She regularly volunteers and speaks on panels for suicide prevention. She is not a flight risk. And essentially, it's our position that there is no risk as it relates to securing her presence as it relates to appearing in court. The defense has no objection to her having no contact with the child or the child's mother, and the stay away order as it relates to their residence. However, it is the defense's perspective in this case that my client have the ability to still be a therapist and counsel people. She is still employed by Counsel Connections. These are allegations, right, at this specific juncture. And it's our position that it was reported when it was made clear to my client when this alleged incident did occur. As it relates to us, it's our position that she should be able to counsel patients in their entirety. And just so that I'm clear, Your Honor, my client counsels adolescents and adults. It's our position that she should have the ability to counsel in its entirety to any patient. However, if Your Honor is inclined to have any restrictions on her ability to counsel patients, we would just say that that would only be for children only, Your Honor. But it's our position that she only counsels their adolescents and adults. But it's the defense perspective that she should not be restricted from her ability to do so. Furthermore, the state does not have any objections to the no alcohol, drugs condition of bond that the state has presented to Your Honor at this juncture.
All right. Ms. Buchanan, did you have anything else to add over and above what the attorneys have articulated? If so, I'll need to place you under oath. Otherwise, I'm prepared to rule on bond.
I just do not.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? Now, I'm going to require Ms. Hall to not have any contact with SB and with you, and to stay away from your residence. And also, of course, hopefully no one else in your family is seeking services with this company. So that is already going to be put in place. Is there anything else you'd like to add with regards to a stay away or no contact?
No, I just.
Okay, so if you have any other questions with regards to any possible interactions between your family and Ms. Hall, you can definitely reach out to the Victim Advocate's Office of the Solicitor General. All right. Okay, on the count one, it's going to be a $7,500 bond. On count two, it's going to be a $2,500 bond. The total bond will be $10,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial. Ms. Hall, you will report to pretrial once a month. And while you're reporting to pretrial, you are to have no further contact with Ryan Buchanan, spelling on the screen, no contact with the minor SB, and you are not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess any weapons or firearms. You may conduct your profession in accordance with your license as issued by the Georgia Secretary of State. So if there are any restrictions imposed by the Georgia Secretary of State, you would have to comply with those restrictions. Your next court date will be sent to your current address. If you change your address, make sure you let the court know in writing. Anything else, Ms. Neal?
No, that's it, Your Honor. Thank you so much.
And Your Honor, the state would object to the signature bond in this, especially considering the facts of this case. We also object to the fact that she would be continuing to practice on children when she has failed her duty as a mandated reporter.
Well, I hope that matter has been brought to the Georgia Secretary of State who governs these licenses. Okay, thank you. All right, this case is going to be further noticed. And next case, please.
I'm sorry, Judge Law, just to confirm, this is a level 1 for this case.
Everything is level 1 unless I specifically state that. Thank you.
And Your Honor, that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Sorry, who do we have, please?
This is gonna be position 4, Hines.
Okay. Kiwana Shante Hines is accused of battery and cruelty in the third degree from February 14th, 2023, and the accusations 23 CR 7802B. Ms. Hines, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Keith Cook. Mr. Walker, was this a domestic violence matter or a non-domestic violence matter?
It's a non-domestic violence, but cruelty to children can go with the battery as well, Your Honor.
All right. And Ms. Hardy, any priors on Ms. Hines?
This defendant has one arrest cycle in Georgia. It was their last arrest, which was February the 19th of 2016 out of Fulton County for carrying a weapon in a school safety zone, and that was null pros. They're recommended for a UJR through the jail, nothing further.
Thank you. Mr. Walker?
Yes, briefly, Your Honor. The defendant was at Woodland Heights Apartments. I believe she was applying for an apartment at that location with her juvenile daughter. A verbal disagreement occurred about her deposit. At that time, she became physical, assaulting the leasing agent. That agent's name is Darlene Harrison. We are asking for a signature bond through pretrial services, a no contact with that victim, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond, and we also will be asking for a 2-day anger awareness course. And we will sign for the victim, Ms. Harrison. I believe that she is on the line.
Ms. Darlene Harrison? Ms. Darlene Harrison? Oh, I do see her, but she's still muted. Okay, Mr. Cook, any objection to the signature bond for pretrial with a stay away and no contact?
Well, we'd prefer it through the jail, but no, I don't think we have any objection there. She does have a child, 3 years old, and she does have a job with a car rental facility. She has high school diploma. She lives with her grandmother, and we would hope to get her through the jail, but if pretrial is the best we can do, we would not object to that.
And she understands that she has to stay away from the entire apartment complex. What was it called? Williams Heights Apartments?
It's called Woodland Heights.
Oh, Woodland Heights. Is that the Center Street or the Peachtree Center Street?
I believe I have Center Street, Your Honor.
Okay.
And by the way, Your Honor, I actually unmuted before I spoke today, so who knows? I think the Supreme Court is my next step.
Oh, there you go, Mr. Cook.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. All right. On the battery charge, it's going to be 1,500. On the cruelty matter is 500. The total bond is 2,000. Signature bond through pretrial services. Ms. Hines, you've got a signature bond at the present time, which means you don't have to pay, but you would have to comply with the following conditions to maintain your signature bond. That will include staying away from the entire apartment complex called the William Heights Apartments at 2500 Center Street. And you are to have no contact with Darlene Harrison. You're also to not consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess any weapons and no firearms. So if there are any weapons or firearms in your current home or in your car, you must surrender them for destruction. Your next court date is going to be sent to you at your current address, and we have that as Delow Drive. Is that still your current address?
Yes.
All right. If you change your address, you will need to let the court know in writing as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 7, Matthews.
Carmela Matthews is accused of 3 separate misdemeanor counts of theft by shoplifting from August 30th, 2023 and September 3rd, 2023. The 3 charges have been consolidated into one accusation, 22 CR 7805Y. Ms. Matthews has been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Any priors, Ms. Hardy?
This defendant does not have any history and is recommended for a UJR through the jail.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes, Your Honor. In these instances, They're concerning shoplifting at Home Depot located at 5300 Windward Parkway. Essentially, the defendant was going through the self-checkout and was switching barcodes, paying for lesser items, but then taking like home appliances. I think he took some faucets, all types of things, Your Honor. Nonetheless, the state is asking for a stay away from that Home Depot located at 530 Windward Parkway. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond.
She's got a Maryland address. Does MD stand for Maryland? Just want to be sure. Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Does she have any ties to Georgia, Mr.
Oh,
Cook?
yeah, she's been moving back and forth. He wants to eventually move here, but she's looking for a residence here.
Well, she'll have to report to pretrial once a month. So with the moving back and forth, that's my concern.
Well,
Yeah.
If she has no ties to Georgia, then I'll have to do a surety bond.
Your Honor, most of the time I do not want my clients to speak, but if she could speak on the issue of coming back once a month.
Ms. Matthews, do you have a residence in the state of Georgia, or at least in Atlanta, where you'll be required to report to pretrial once a month?
Yes, most definitely can report to the free trial once a month. I'm currently staying with one of my best friends in Chambers, Georgia. But I was just here for a few months and I went back to Maryland here and there, but primarily I'm here to trying to find residency.
So you're in Georgia to establish residency?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
You know, it's Chambly.
Yes,
You know, we know as residents, it's Chambly. She's staying with a friend in Chambly, Georgia.
Bond is set at $3,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. She'll report to pretrial once a month, and she'll need to comply with the following conditions. She's to stay away from all Home Depot stores, not just one or the one on Windward Parkway. Every single store owned by Home Depot is off limits to her.
Yes.
She is to try to avoid getting arrested again from now on. And she needs to update the court with her Atlanta address or Chambly address within 30 days of being released. Failure to update her address or failure to report to pretrial, failure to come to court, or getting arrested again will result in her signature bond being revoked, and she'll have to be rearrested and reissued a new bond. So, and Ms. Matthews, these are 3 separate counts of theft by shoplifting. If the case goes to trial and the state proves all 3 charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt, you could possibly have 3 shoplifting convictions on your record, and the 4th one in the state of Georgia is automatically a felony. Just FYI on Georgia law. Welcome to the state. Your next court date will be sent to your current mailing address that you provide within the next 30 days. Thank you.
Your Honor, for clarity, that was a signature bond.
Through pretrial, yes.
3,000 through pretrial. Stay away from Home Depot and update the court of addresses within 30 days.
Yeah, Georgia, Atlanta address, local addresses. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Your Honor.
Quick question.
Yes.
On the 3 card, there's 3 counts.
1,000 each.
But then on the calendar, it's only 2 counts. So
Are we talking about Carmela Matthews?
Yes.
I've got 3 counts on the calendar, 3 counts on Odyssey. So
It's 3.
Yes. I'm looking at another. You're good. I'm good, Judge. I'm good. Thank you.
No
I
problem.
was looking at position 8.
Okay, is that next?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Position 18, Mr. Wright.
This is State versus Quadair Abriel Wright, WRIGHT, accusation 23 CR 7800E. Mr. Wright's accused of battery, family violence from August 6, 2023. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Ms. Hardy?
This defendant has 7 arrest cycles in Georgia. Misdemeanor conviction in 2019 for possession of marijuana less than an ounce. Their last arrest was June the 29th, 2023 out of Fulton for battery family violence. The case number is 23 CR 004099E. There's also an open case for simple battery family violence, aggravated assault, and cruelty to children. That case number is 22 CP 210306. There appears to be a hold out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Carnesville, Georgia. The recommendation from pretrial is a UJR level 2. Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Mr. Pierre Thomas?
Your Honor, brief facts of the case is that on August 6, 2023, the officer responded to that incident location, that location being 371 East Paces Ferry Road, Northeast in Atlanta, Georgia, and Fulton County, Georgia, in regards to a domestic dispute. The victim told the police that she and her child's father, the defendant, were at a gathering with friends when they began to argue about him cheating on her. She stated that he became upset and he hit her 3 times with a closed fist in her nose. She actually sustained swelling on her right eye and bleeding from the laceration on her nose. The victim was treated on the scene by Grady EMS. The defendant fled the scene but continued to call the victim on her cell phone as she was in the presence of the officers. The victim and the defendant share a child together. Our office was not able to get in contact with the victim. However, if we can sound for her at the conclusion of the state's request in accordance with Marcy's law, that'd be greatly appreciated. Her name appears to be Hope, Hope, traditional spelling, Moto, Mootoo. It appears that he was already out on bond in 2022 for that battery, family violence, aggravated assault, strangulation. Different victim, however, and then he subsequently picked up another battery in 2023, also different victim, out of Fulton County. The state's request, and there in that battery, he received a $3,000 good bond that was not quite possibly enough. So the state's request is a $5,000 surety bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no contact with the victim in this case, a stay away from that incident location, and the completion of a family violence intervention program. And if we can just sound for Ms. Moto, in accordance with Marcy's law, we greatly appreciate it.
Okay, with the alleged victim, Hope Moto, if you are present, I see someone with a case, Jamise, and all right, Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, my client, Mr. Wright, is 27 years. Even though he was born in Ohio, he has lived here in Georgia almost all his life, Your Honor. He and his mother have salon business, and he's been doing that for about quite a bit. However, lately, his mother has been very, very sick. So he moved in with his mother as a main caregiver. Also, he has a younger sister who is only 11 years old. So he's kind of like a father figure and head of the household for his mom and his sister, Your Honor. And he denies the allegation. He says that he was not even there at 371 East Paces Ferry, and he had no contact with her in person. So he believes that this is fabricated allegation, and he wants to make a charge against her for making a false claim. And my client is not going to be qualified for public defender services. Your Honor, he has been responsible paying for child support for his 2 other minor children, Your Honor. We would like to request for signature on bond through pretrial level 2 as he is recommended. Thanks, Your Honor.
All right. Bond's going to be set at $15,000. This is going to be a surety bond. Next court date is going to be December 21st, and we're going to address both the cases, the current one as well as 23 CR 4099E. No further contact with Miss Hope Moto, that's Mootoo. No further contact with the minor child that he shares with Miss Moto. If he would like contact with the minor child, he would need to file a separate legitimation action and to seek visitation and custody with the child he shares with Ms. Moto. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. If
Your Honor,
if
I could
Mr.
just
Wright,
correct something.
I'm sorry?
You're not finished. I'm sorry. My apologies.
I was going to say, if Mr. Wright does make bond, he would need to enroll in a domestic violence intervention program, and he must file the enrollment documents with the court in this particular case number within 60 days of being released on bond, and then continue to attend those classes until it's completed, and then file the certificate of completion. Please be sure that those classes must be completed within 12 months of being released on bond.
And Your Honor, I just want to correct something, a misstatement. Ms. Moto is the victim in the aggravated assault strangulation case, the same victim.
All right. So we'll see Mr. Wright on December 21st in these both cases, or if he's released on bond, he will need to make sure he's enrolled in the DVIP program and comply with the conditions of this bond. Thank you.
Position 8, Maya.
Your Honor, that's gonna be a null price today.
All right, thank you.
Position 8 might.
All right,
I'll have it to
Christopher
withdraw momentarily.
will, and is it an all cross on both counts?
Oh, wait. I'm sorry.
This is Christopher Myatt, M-Y-A-T-T, accused of 2 counts of theft by taking from June 28th, 2020.
Your Honor, this is gonna be a null price today
On both counts, both?
for the entire case.
Okay, thank
Position
you.
8.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Christopher Myatt, the state has decided not to pursue prosecution in this matter, so this case is closed and you will be released within 24 hours unless you have any other cases holding you. Thank you.
Position 10, Postel.
Postel, Xavier Postel? Is that correct? Okay. State versus Xavier Postel, accusation 23 CR 7791F. Mr. Postel is accused of battery, family violence, and simple battery from December 5th, 2023. Mr. Postel, you have the right to remain silent as advised, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Cook. Would that be correct? Is your client Xavier Postel? If you could unmute, please.
No, Your Honor, I don't have Xavier Postel.
Okay, Ms. Abdon or Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, I do have it, but Your Honor, I believe Postel, yes, I do have it.
All right, Ms. Kim. Your attorney is Ms. J. Kim. Ms. Hardy, any priors, please?
This defendant has 1 arrest cycle in Georgia. It was their last arrest, which was on January the 20th, 2022, out of Fulton County for possession of marijuana with intent, possession of Schedule II controlled substance, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. That case is open, and the case number is 22 SC 181415. The recommendation from pretrial is a UJR level 2.
Your Honor, brief facts of the case is on December 5th, 2023, the officer was dispatched to the incident location, that location being 222 Tuskegee Street, apartment 201, Southeast Atlanta, Georgia, in Fulton County, Georgia, to handle a domestic violence call. The victim and the defendant have a 3-month-old child together. The victim stated that the defendant was waiting for her in the breezeway of her complex when she opened her door to her apartment. The victim explained that she had closed the door, but he forced his way in. And he called her a lame, ASSBITCH, and punched her in the mouth. The victim explained that the defendant then proceeded to punch her a few more times in the head. The victim's cousin, Dante Crowell, Crowell, was also inside the apartment holding the 3-month-old baby. The defendant proceeded to punch Mr. Crowell while he was still holding the baby. The victim suffered and when I say the victim's name is Monique, Mounique, Ezzard, Ezzard. She's victim number one, but victim number one suffered minor damage to her bottom lip, and Mr. Crowell was not on the scene when officers arrived. The victim one stated that the suspect was a convicted felon and was holding a black handgun during the assault, but he never pointed it at her. The recommendation from the state, Your Honor, is a $5,000 surety bond on each count. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons, a stay away from the incident location, to have no contact with both victims, Monique Ezzard and Dante Crowell, and the completion of a family violence intervention program. And if we could sound for both victims at this time in accordance with Marcy's law, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Monique Ezzard, if you want to address the court, please unmute and start your video. Dante Crowell, same announcement. Please unmute and start your video. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. My client, Mr. Postel, is 26 years old. He was born and raised here in Georgia. He has his family here. He's not a flight risk, and he does actually have a job that is lined up starting on Monday for a warehouse truck loading. And I would like to make sure that he gets out of the jail so that he can start his new job instead of staying in the jail, so that way he can take care of his 3-month-old child that he has right now. He graduated from high school, and Your Honor, he does not reside with any of these victims or alleged victims that they are claiming as a victims. They don't live together. My client has no objection to stay away and no further contact with them. He denies the allegation completely, and we would like to request for just third-party transfer of the child. Other than that, signature on bond through pretrial level 2 will be appropriate. Thank you.
All right, thank you. On the battery, family violence is $3,500. On the simple battery is $1,000. Total bond is $4,500. It's just a surety bond. No contact with Monique Ezzard. No contact with the minor child he shares with Miss Ezzard, and no contact with Dante Crowell. He's also to stay 200 yards away from the entire apartment complex, identified as 222 Tuskegee Street in Atlanta, Fulton County. No illegal drugs, no weapons, no firearms, and his next court date will be December 21st. Thank you.
Come on, Mr. Thomas. Position 15, Thomas. I mean.
This is State versus Michael Thomas, accused of simple battery on December 7th, 2023. It has been accused under 23 CR 7797Y. Mr. Thomas, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Ms. Hardy?
This defendant is a multi-state offender with arrests out of Georgia and Florida. A misdemeanor conviction in 2002 for resisting arrest, and another one for that same charge in 2014. Their last arrest was October the 1st, 2020 at Morrow for a probation violation. They appear to be on probation in Clayton County. The recommendation from pretrial is a UJR level 1, nothing further.
Thank you.
You got a brief facts of the case is that on December 4, 2023, the defendant was pointed out by what appeared to be a frantic female who later stated that the defendant struck her in the face. She provided video footage of the incident. The officer observed the victim. The victim in this case name is Mai Nam, M-I, second name N-A-M. He observed the victim displaying body language consistent with one who was asking someone to leave. She stood at the door and motioned her hand for the defendant to leave. During such time, the defendant could be seen refusing and growing aggressively towards the victim. He paced back and forth in the restaurant, which was owned by the victim, and eventually walked up to her face and in an intimidating manner and used his finger to poke her in the head. And with such consistency and force as to cause the the victim's head to slightly move back from the push. The victim stated that she had asked him to leave because he was there and not patronizing the business. Our office has been able to get in contact with the victim. She confirmed the events that was in the warrant. She states that he frequently is outside of the business, loitering and prowling, I guess. The victim also stated that she is in fear of the defendant and in fear of what he may do. She does not wish to have any contact, and she would like for him to stay away from the restaurant. I do believe that she may be on the call, but the recommendation from the state, Your Honor, given his arrest cycles and his history, is a signature bond through the pretrial services, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no contact with the victim, and a stay away from that incident location.
All right. Miss Me Nam or My Nam, if you want to address the court, you would need to unmute and start your video. Otherwise, you are free to remain silent.
Yes, Your Honor. Give me one moment. Hi, I'm Anna. I'm the victim's daughter. I'll be translating for her on her behalf. I just wanted to point out something that she wanted to make known to the court. So before she made the 911 call, she asked one of her employees to make the call, and they were all reluctant. And she asked, "Why are you not calling the police?" And the employee stated that he is fearful of the defendant, the said defendant, and that he has a gun and that he doesn't want to report the defendant in fear of, getting into trouble
Your Honor.
himself.
We would like to request for swearing in before we start any testimony, Your Honor.
I don't know what to swear in because I thought she was translating, but all she's doing is narrating something that the victim has not even uttered. So,
Oh, well, I'm so sorry.
no.
She had mentioned it before.
Okay. So the way translation works is that the victim would say something and then you would verbatim translate it. But what language do y'all speak? Vietnamese or
Korean?
Korean? Okay. And typically we would need a Korean interpreter present in order for the information to be transmitted.
I see.
But as we do not have one at the present time, I'm going to rely solely on any statements that she's made to the Victim Advocate's Office. All right. Ms. Kim, thank you.
Thank you. My client is Mr. Thomas, who is 42 years old, Your Honor, and he does have an address here in Georgia, and he claims that he was actually, she spat on his face. So he was actually offended first, and he acted out to kind of defend himself, to kind of like, hey, stop spitting on me. That was his position, Your Honor. He does have 4 children. He's a father of 4 children, and he is currently unemployed, so he has no financial means to pay for any bond. So we would like to request for a signature on bond through pretrial, Your Honor, and he does have up to 12th grade. However, he does not have a diploma, or he could not complete GED yet. Other than that, Your Honor, we have no objection to stay away from the business or have no contact with complaining witness. At this point, we would like to request for signature on bond through pretrial, and of course, we object to all the testimony that was done by her.
Well, there was no testimony. Nothing was sworn.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bond is going to be set at $1,500. This is a surety bond. Mr. Thomas, once you make bond, you must make sure that you have no further contact with Miss Me or Miss My Nam, M-I space N-A-M. You have to stay 200 yards away from Miss My Nam and her immediate family members. You're not to communicate with her in any way, form, or manner, including social media or through a third party. You're also to stay 200 yards away from the entire location referenced as 5084 Old National Highway in College Park. So if that was formerly your favorite restaurant, unfortunately, you're going to have to find another one. You're not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess any weapons or any firearms. If you own any firearms, they're to be surrendered to the authorities for destruction. Your next court date is going to be December 21st at 9 a.m. And I don't have a local address on you. So within 30 days of being released on your bond, you must update the court with your current mailing address. If it's still in Florida, then you would need to make sure that you appear from court once we sent your notice to that address.
All right, but I gave my address to Ms. Kim already.
I can text to the court or
All
call.
right, Ms. Kim, yeah, you can fax it, but I still require him within 30
Sure.
days of being released to come to the clerk's office and put down his new address in writing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Position 12, Riley.
Paul Riley is accused of battery family violence from July 10th, 2023, and the accusation is 23 CR 7793A. Mr. Riley, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. Oh, excuse me, Ms. Atay. Any priors, Ms. Hardy?
This defendant has a total of 16 arrest cycles with arrests out of Georgia and Texas. Felony conviction in 2020 for ID theft and forgery. 2016 ID theft. Their last arrest was September the 3rd, 2023 out of Tift County for driving while license suspended or revoked. It appears that they're on probation for that case. And that it also appears that they're on probation in Gwinnett and Fayette, both for ID theft cases. The recommendation for from pretrial is a UJR level 3. Nothing further to report.
Thank you. Mr. Pierre Thomas?
Yeah, on a brief facts of the case, it appears that on July 10th, 2023, the officer was dispatched to an information on dispute at location 382 Cairo, Cairo Street, Northwest Atlanta, Georgia, in Fulton County, Georgia. The officer met with a reporting party who happened to be the victim's mother, Shanika, Shenika, Witt, Witt. The victim in this case is actually a juvenile. She reported that her son was assaulted by his father. The victim in this case, his initials is ZW. The victim advised that his father, the defendant, pulled his hair and punched him 3 times in the left side of his face with a closed fist. And the punches happened after a verbal altercation that they had over the phone about the victim's sexuality. The defendant then pinned the victim down on the sofa. The juvenile's mother then had to pull the defendant off of her son and then called the police. The victim did have swelling under his eye consistent with being hit, and also the injury was observed by the officer. Our office has been able to get in contact with that juvenile's mother. She confirmed the events that were in the warrant. She states that the incident location is her residence, but the defendant does not live there. She states that the defendant and the victim have not had any contact since the incident. She states that she does not wish to have contact, and she would like for the defendant to stay away from her residence. And we don't believe that she will be attending the hearing. However, we could sound for her, as she is the mother of the juvenile victim, at the conclusion of the state's request. But the state will actually request a $3,500 surety bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no contact with the juvenile victim or the mother in this case, a stay away from that incident location, and the completion of a family violence intervention program. And again, I said it before, but the mother's name is Shanika Witt, Witt, for sounding.
Ms. Shaniqua Witt, if you're present, you can unmute and start your video. I don't see anyone. So, Ms. Atay?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 34 years old. He does have 2 children, ages 13 and 14. He is employed. He doesn't qualify for public defender services. I do want to point out that he has no violent history. He is a UJR level 3. That's the recommendation. I'm asking for a signature bond through pretrial services, whatever level, a level 1 or 2. But I am asking for a signature bond so that he can get out and continue to work. And he does deny the allegations in the warrant.
I have a state board of pardon and parole's hold on him at the present time as well. So
yes, so a signature bond.
On the battery family violence, that's going to be a $4,500 surety bond. no further contact with Shaniqua Witt and the minor identified as ZW. If Mr. Riley has not legitimated the child, then he may have contact with ZW only through a superior court order from a legitimation action. His next court date is going to be December 21st. Unfortunately, he cannot be released until the State Board of Pardon and Parole hold has been resolved and he makes bond. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no alcohol. Thank you.
I apologize, Judge. What was the bond again?
4,500 surety bond.
4-5?
Yeah,
Thank you.
4500.
Position 1, Davis.
State versus Jarrell Davis is accused of criminal trespass from December 7, 2023. Mr. Davis, your case number is 237795E, and you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Abden. Any priors, Ms. Hardy?
Excuse me, this defendant has a total of 6 arrest cycles with arrests out of Georgia and California. Felony conviction in 2007 for robbery, 2008 burglary. Their last arrest was June the 12th, 2015 out of Cobb County for disorderly conduct. The recommendation from pretrial is a UJR level 2. Nothing further to report.
All right. And this is a trespass causing damage to property, if I'm not mistaken, or
That's correct.
Okay.
In this matter, Your Honor, law enforcement was dispatched to 875 Conley Road, where they spoke to the victim, Ms. Deborah Wilson. She is the mother of the defendant, I believe. There was some type of disagreement between the defendant and his stepfather, if you will. The defendant damaged the front door to his mother's apartment, and that's the basis for the criminal trespass. We are asking for a signature bond through pretrial services, no contact with the victim, Deborah Wilson, and a stay away from the incident location. I see Ms. Wilson on the line, so we would sound for her, Ms. Wilson.
Ms. Deborah Wilson, if you want to add to the proceedings, you'll need to unmute and start your video.
Hello.
Hello. Ms. Wilson, if you'd like to contribute, I need to place you under oath. If the gentleman could move out of the screen, and then that way you will be center stage. Perfect. And if you please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right. And Ms. Wilson, is the door repairable?
Yes, they just fixed it.
And was that the rental company, or did you have to hire a contractor to do it?
The rental company.
Okay. And what is your opinion on having Jarrell back at your home?
He can't come back ever. This is
Okay.
ongoing.
Understood.
This has been ongoing.
All right. Thank you. You may mute your screen, Ms. Wilson. Thank you. Ms. Abden?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Honor. My client is 35 years old. He's been living in Georgia consistently since 2016. His primary residence is with his girlfriend, so he would not object to the stay away and a no further contact if one was required. He does have friends and family here, so he does have strong ties to the community. He has a valid Georgia address and understands his obligation to return to court, so he's not a flight risk at this time. He's a father to 3 minor children. The 16 and 7-year-old live in California. He does have a child support obligation to those children. He also has a 2-year-old child who lives here in Georgia. He's co-parenting with that child's mother, and he has a financial and familial obligation to that child. He also is supposed to start work on Monday. He's going to be a forklift operator for DHL, and I'm asking that Your Honor take his future earnings and income into consideration when setting bond today, especially given the fact that he's the primary breadwinner for these 3 minor children. As his last arrest was in 2015, and the recommendation is a signature bond through pretrial services at level 2, I'm asking that Your Honor take that recommendation. and possibly get him a signature bond through pretrial at level 1. And as I've stated, he does not object to the conditions, but he would need a one-time law enforcement escort to get some of his belongings. It's my understanding. Okay. So he will make arrangements, Your Honor.
Bond is set at 3,500, so signature bond through pretrial services. He is to have no further contact with Miss Deborah Wilson. He's to stay 200 yards away. He's not to communicate with her in person, through a third party, through a phone, a computer, through social media. And he's to stay away from the entire apartment complex where Miss Wilson resides in Conley Road. He's not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and he's not to possess any weapons or any firearms. His next court date will be sent to his address, and is that the Lost Springs Trail location?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so he will receive notice. I am very serious about staying away from the apartment complex and from Miss Deborah Wilson, because if he violates these conditions, he will be arrested and his bond will convert to either a cash bond or a surety bond. Yes, Mr. Davis?
I have my car over there at her residence. So how would I be able to get my car?
I guess you just leave it there and Miss Wilson can sell it. She can use the money to pay for the door.
Mr. Davis, you can have arrangements for your girlfriend to help you get it, and we can discuss that after court. I'm just going to advise you to exercise your right to remain silent at this time, please.
And Miss Abden's response is the correct one, not mine.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. But he cannot return to that location. No one-time visit, 0 visits. No Christmas with mom this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Position 16, Walters.
All right, Miss Wilson, you're free to go. Thank you. Walters is represented by Miss Atay, and let me get to the correct page. Did you say Walters? Oh, got it. All right. Position 16 is Hashim Walters, and Mr. Walters is accused of criminal trespass from December 7th, 2023, case number 23 CR 7798A. Ms. Atay is your attorney. You've been advised of your right to remain silent. And Ms. Hardy?
This defendant has 1 arrest cycle in Georgia. Their last arrest, which was November the 24th, 2022. Terroristic threats and acts. They're currently on probation on that. There appears to be a holdout of McDonough. And the recommendation for pretrial is a UJR level 1. Nothing further to report.
And do you know if the McDonough hold is a traffic matter?
It says probation violation.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Mr.
Very brief facts of the case is that the defendant was informed that he was being banned from the Fulton County Library System and for violations to the Code of Conduct. The defendant was made aware and asked to leave from the property. He refused to do so and was escorted from the building and told not to return. However, the defendant was seen entering the Central Library after being trespassed. Your Honor, the recommendation from the state is a signature bond through the jail, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and a stay away from all Fulton County Library System properties. But the specific incident location for this offense is looks like Marquette, M-A-R-Q-U, Marquette, M-A-R-Q-A-R-E-T, Mitchell Square in Fulton County, Georgia.
All right. Does that mean no online access either, as far as you know?
Now that's a tricky one. I leave it to the discretion of the court.
Oh, okay.
We want them to read, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Tay, it will be a signature bond through pretrial, but he is to stay away from all physical locations of Fulton County libraries. He can go to a library in any other county but Fulton County.
No objections, Your Honor.
All right. Bond is set at $2,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. He reports to pretrial once a month, and to stay away from all Fulton County libraries. I'm going to include that you cannot, well, I guess you'll be able to access any resources that you would like online if you are permitted to create an account. But right now, you cannot step into any building that has the word Fulton County Library on it. Your next court date will be set to your current address, although, however, you do have a Henry County hold. So you'll need to, well, let me see. Yeah. You'll need to make bond and then either report to Henry County or they'll have to come pick you up. So Ms. Hardy, once he finishes his interview with pretrial, he'll need to be detained until Henry County comes and picks him up.
I will let supervision know.
Thank you. Next case, please.
Position 13, Smalls.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning or afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, sir. Leonard Smalls has got a case 23 CR 7794E, and this is from December 6, 2023, in which you've been accused of criminal trespass. Mr. Smalls, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Abden. Any priors, Ms. Hardy?
Yeah, you will.
This defendant has a total of 38 arrest cycles with arrests out of Georgia and Florida. Felony conviction in 2000 for forgery. Their last arrest was May the 23rd, 2023, out of Clayton County for criminal trespass, and that case appears to be open. There's an open case in Fulton County for possession of MDMA and driving while license suspended or revoked. That case number is 19 SC 172902. And the recommendation from pretrial is a UJR level 2. I'm sorry, level 3. Nothing further to report.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, brief facts of the cases. Looks like on December 6, 2023, the officer responded to a trespassing call at the location of 190 Judy Lane in Atlanta, Georgia, and Fulton County, Georgia. The officer spoke with Mr. Garrett, Garrett, who is the security specialist for Progress Residential, who advised that the defendant was occupying the property without a leasing agreement. Mr. Garrett advised that he told the defendant that he must vacate the property or he will be trespassed. The defendant refused to vacate the property, to which the officer was able to look at the lease agreement that the defendant presented to him that did not bear his name on the lease agreement. The officer advised the defendant that he had to come out of the property due to the fact that he could not provide adequate information reflecting that he resided at the location. The defendant still refused to vacate the property, and Mr. Garrett then removed the locking mechanism to the property and allowed the officer to enter. The officer entered and was able to enter the property and place Mr. Small, the defendant, under arrest for criminal trespass. The recommendation from the state is a signature bond to the pretrial services, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. I would say with no contact with the employees of that location, specifically Mr. Garrett, and a stay away from that incident location.
Okay. Ms. Abden, any objection to the signature bond through pretrial and he cannot return to the location?
No objection, Your Honor. He has a Georgia address. He's living there with his wife. He does not need to return to this address. He does deny the allegations as stated in the warrant. And I did notice that open case, there were 3 warrants on his booking sheet. It's my understanding he may have gone to court for felony this morning. I just want to make sure that we don't have to set a bond on those. I don't want him to get stuck there over the weekend.
Right. He's got a $2,500. I don't know whether that's cumulative.
Okay.
For the possession of MDMA. And then he's got presently $1,000 on this trespass charge.
So thank you, Your Honor. So given that, I just wanted to make sure that was handled because there was no bond set on it on the booking sheet I received. But for this particular case, I am asking that you take the state's recommendation, and he would not be able to afford the $1,000 given he also has bonds on the others. He does have a job. He's gainfully employed, but he's concerned he might lose that job since he's been in jail since Tuesday. He also has a valid, like I said, valid address here. understands his obligation to return to court, so he's not a flight risk. And he does have strong ties to community, such as family here, and he's lived here his whole life.
Well, I'm going to put a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial. He'll report to pretrial once a month. He is to stay 200 yards away from 190 Judy Lane, Atlanta, Georgia. If that's an apartment complex, he has to stay away from the entire complex and have no contact with D. Garrett, the security agent on premises. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. However, in his 19 SC 172902 case, he's got a judicial hold issued on January 10th, 2020. And he's got a court date on January 3rd, 2024. So he will still be in custody until that judicial hold is addressed because he doesn't have a bond in that case. Let me see. Typically these holds, yeah. Judge Todd Ashley issued the hold on January 10th, 2020.
Who?
Judge Ashley from Magistrate Court, sitting by designation as Superior Court Judge. You've got a judicial hold in your Superior Court matter.
Mr. Small, we can speak after court if you'd like. I can just ask someone to give me a call so we can speak about this, but this is your other case. So once that other case gets resolved, you can be released on this one, on the signature bond.
Right. So in the meantime, I'm not going to reset it to the SAP then, I guess. You all will work towards trying to get that resolved. And on the driving while license suspended, the only thing I see is the $2,500 surety bond. I don't know whether it's on each charge or whether it's cumulative for the whole case.
And if the state is open to it, can we, is that a Superior Court case or can we maybe handle that?
Superior Court, nope, it's Superior
That's
Court.
what I figured. Okay, thank you, Your Honor, I appreciate
All right.
it.
Take care, thank you.
Mr. Thomas, can you check your chat, please?
Mr. Pierre Thomas, please check your chat.
I apologize, Francois.
I'm sorry, did somebody say my name?
Yeah, what position are we on?
Oh, this is position 17, Mr. Wolf.
Okay. David Justin Wolk is accused of criminal trespass and willful obstruction of an officer, 2023. His accusation is 23 CR 7799C. And Mr. Wolk, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Cook. Ms. Hardy?
This defendant has 3 arrest cycles, felony conviction in 2022 for criminal damage to property. They're currently on first offender probation.
Ms. Hardy, I apologize. Did you guys say it's Wolk position 17?
Yes, WOELK.
That is my client, Your Honor. That is
Oh.
a breakout room.
Okay,
Case.
thank you.
All right, so
Thank you, Ms. Chapman.
position 17 is at the end. 3 and 17 are at the end. Anyone
Thank
else? Are those the only 2 cases in the courtroom?
Yes, Judge, I can make my announcements real quick if you like.
Okay. Go ahead. Position 3, Kevin Harvey, what's going on?
That one's a breakout room as well, Your Honor.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, it's 3 and 17. Thank you.
Okay, then we'll move on to position 6, Leon King.
Yes, they waived their appearance.
Okay.
And then position 9 is outsourced to Cobb.
Position 9 is on a loan out to Cobb. Has anybody have any idea when he will be returned? Because otherwise I'm going to reset it to tomorrow at 2 p.m.
Yes.
I
Okay.
apologize, Judge. This is the one from yesterday. Did you you never set anything for this one? This is the one that they said that wasn't on the calendar. Were we waiting for him to be put on the calendar today, or did you set something on this yesterday?
This was the one that was not accused yesterday.
Correct.
Accused now, but he's been loaned out to Cobb. So we're going to reset it tomorrow. Hopefully he'll be back by then.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, Your Honor, the state was just requesting a signature bond through the jail, so.
I can do $1,000 signature bond through the jail. So if once he's brought back, he can be processed out through intake.
No objection.
All right. Well, he hasn't got a defense attorney, but we'll take it like that.
I think Ms. Kim is his attorney, no?
Yes, correct.
All
Your
right.
Honor.
Oh,
Your
just
Honor.
one second, Mr. Cook.
Sure.
Miss, who is my litigation manager? I'm so sorry. I know Miss Strong is hosting.
No, it's me. I am the litigation. manager.
Oh, okay. Miss Strong, on position 9, let's just go ahead and do a $1,000 signature bond through the jail.
Okay.
And then it will be executed upon his return from Cobb County through intake.
Okay.
All right. All right. Yes, Mr. Cook.
Yes. I have a Dorico Swanson who I'm told will be reset till tomorrow because he is in another court today.
Well, let's find out. Let's start with position 11, Jones Quinetta, Deputy Francis.
Judge, they waived their appearance.
Okay.
And then position 14 is in downtown court.
Position 14, Mr. Quinetta Jones is in downtown court, so that's good.
Position 11 waived their appearance.
Okay. And position 14, Derico Swanson is in downtown court.
That is correct.
All right, so Mr. Cook, that's going to be reset to tomorrow's C calendar.
Okay. I was under the impression that, and I talked to Miss Quinetta that we may all, and she gave me the permission to waive it. I sent that to Miss Bridgewater. I was not sure who to send that to. I'm sorry?
Miss Strong. It says Casey Strong. Can you send it to me, please?
Can you resubmit the waiver of appearance to Miss Casey Strong, and her email will be in the chat?
Okay, sure. Is that
right.
Casey with a C or a K?
It's C-A-Y-C-E.
Yes, I can do that. Also, I was under the impression that we may still be able to deal with the bond, but I'm not sure.
We will. If once Ms. Strong receives the waiver of appearance, we'll address the bond for position 14.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and stop the live stream. Okay, and I'm going to first identify the individuals on Zoom. Samsung SMA546U. We have to pause the live stream, but not the recording. The other way around, Ms. Strong. The individual on the phone, Samsung SMA546U, could you identify yourself? Okay. Miss Strong.
Hold on, Judge. It's not me. We getting it.
Okay.
We getting it right.
Can we just place him in the waiting room? Because I think I do have a victim or two left.
That's what I'm going to do. Have them placed in the waiting room.
Who are we putting in the waiting room again?
The Zoom panel beginning with the word Samsung. All right. Then Sist Houston. Sist Houston. All right. Is that person in the waiting room? Is there anyone else on Zoom who is not court staff? All right. Now I'm going to wait for Ms. Strong to pause the live stream and start the recording.
Oh, it's somebody else, Judge. We're trying to give me a second. We working.
Oh, no problem. Oh, that would be Miss Grace. Sorry, Miss Grace.
Okay, so it doesn't look like.
You can go ahead and stop the live stream, then stop the recording. All right, while this is going on, I can start with the positions in which we waived appearance. Position number 6, we have